Check It for Andretti campaign on the car. Definitely, want to bring light to, the fact that people need to be getting screened, need to schedule their colonoscopies. And we have now have a foundation up and running, Check It for Andretti. You can donate to this foundation, but what we are doing is for those of you that are in need, are at high risk, and need a colonoscopy, but are not of age that your insurance company will cover it, and you're needing help to cover that, contact us. I think we can help you. So that's really our mission, is not only to educate and inspire, but also to help those that are unable to get themselves screened. So we're very blessed and appreciative to all the donations we've had so far. We just got our approval from the government, the IRS, for our 501(c). So we're up and running, good to go. Excited about it. I know that it's something that John's wife Nancy and his kids Jarrett, Olivia, and Amelia are very, very proud to carry on. I know my sister Carolyn sits on the board as well, and of the charity. It's just really a huge effort of people that love John and don't want to see this happen. What could be avoidable happen to other families, and that's what's really a big part of the mission. So really, when my dad passed away on December 30th to COVID, he that was really what triggered a lot of the first donations into Check It for Andretti, because that's where we asked for in lieu of flowers for things to go, and it really kick fired things off. So we're super excited about that. Delivery is good to bring some attention, and again, if it's Check It for Andretti that inspires you, we're proud of that. We love that. I know Scott Lagacy Jr. in our TA2.
Yeah.
He's got a wonderful story. He was in his mid 20s, and Screen Your Machine is his story, and because he was somebody that honestly not at risk for anything, and in his mid 20s, and just on a hunch, the doctors were like, "Why don't you go get screened?" And they caught it. And had they not caught it, we wouldn't have Scott around our paddock, which would be a big miss in that paddock. So there's Captain Colonoscopy. He was a gentleman. He was a raceman that came to Sebring and introduced himself to me. His name is Michael Donahue, and he has a son named Indy Donahue, is what he named him. So I was like, if that kid ever makes it to the Speedway, he's definitely got a little more clout carried on him. So, but there's definitely plenty of places to be inspired by, and really everyone's story is the same as what my brother's was. Is if you are going to do it for selfish reasons, you'll probably never go get it done. So think about your friends, think about your family, think about those that love you, and if you do it for them, if you think about them, then you'll go get it done.
Adam, I was thinking about this. I'm due for my colonoscopy right now, and I have put it off because of COVID. I've gone to the doctor for a couple of things, but just kind of regular stuff. But I put it off, thinking, "Oh, I'll do that." It's not something you really want to get excited about doing, but
No.
I think COVID has also made it worse, just from people putting off medical procedures and things like that too.
Oh, Casey, you hit the nail on the head, and thank you for saying that, because that's the biggest battle that all of early screening illnesses have faced since COVID, is that people are just COVID is what's given everyone the concern, and I've been saying it for a long time. I was like, if anything, you give any illness as much attention as we've given COVID, you're going to get scared of it all. Like if colon cancer was getting the attention of COVID, everyone would have been out and getting screened like
Yeah.
yesterday. So and that's understandable. And COVID is extremely serious. Obviously, we suffered the gravest loss that you can have it by losing my father to it. So don't think that I'm underplaying the seriousness of COVID. That's not it at all. But you can't allow just that one illness overtake everything else that you have going. Like if you're due, you need to certainly get something scheduled. If you're experiencing symptoms, don't wait. No, absolutely not. You need to please go out there and get yourself screened and get yourself taken care of, because these are things that are totally curable. My mother, a breast cancer survivor, but she caught it so early. She caught it so early, and we're so blessed for that. And with John, if he had just had it been caught earlier had he got it at 50 and not 52 years old, who knows what the story would be. But everyone can certainly write their own story that's sitting here listening to this broadcast or watching it live. You certainly have that time to write it. So Casey, thank you for doing that. But go get yourself scheduled, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to put that off. I'm going to make sure that gets done. I'm all vaccinated now, so I'm ready to get out there and start doing a little more things than I was doing. So
I did that. I did my first one about 5 years ago, and it was the biggest non-event and relief because I knew what you just expressed. And really, folks, there's nothing to it. It's the best nap you'll ever have, and you wake up feeling great.
it is a good nap.
I've never heard it put that way, Les, but man, God bless you. I dig it. We may use that. We may call you and have you as a quote up on
As
the
an
website
ambassador.
someday. It's not that big of a deal, but you're going to have the best nap of your life.
There you go.
Well, Jonathan, tell the story of what made you and Adam start thinking about him coming on the show. I assumed it was Trans Am at first, but then I was like, wait, motorcycles? Tell the story about that.
Okay, so I hobble on over to Adam and I said, man, you are going to come and join me in the booth. And he goes, well, my engine's not firing properly and I got this problem and that problem. He goes, but heck, yeah, I'll come in. And I said, well, I think you do a great job. And, if you ever want to, get into commentary, you're always welcome. And he goes, man, what I really want to do is bike commentary. And I said, well, you're talking to the right guy. I did 20 years of MotoGP and World Superbikes. And I still, we still do it. So that's when and so then he got excited and I just called him up. But there's a story that goes with it because little did we know, but the Andrettis, especially Adam, have an interest in bikes that probably nobody knows about. Is that true, Adam?
It is rare. It is rare for people to know our love for two wheels, but it's there and it's raw and it's true. And we used to laugh. My dad had a motorcycle endorsement, on his license forever, but never had a motorcycle. Never owned a motorcycle, but it was just in case, the JIC as we call it, just in case. He had it, but absolutely a passion for bikes. Back in I believe it was 1992 or 93. Obviously 500cc motorcycles were around. They were at Laguna. Wayne Rainey had the bikes there. They were there testing. Mario, through his relationship. Kenny Roberts. It was Kenny Roberts' bike.
That's right. Yep.
And so Mario, through his relationship with Kenny Roberts, because they both won the world championship in the same year there in '78. Right. And so they obviously formed a wonderful friendship and relationship that still goes strong to this day. So, he's got his team over there, and Mario's like, I've always wanted to see what it's like to ride one of these. And he's like, well, hike your leg over it and go. So Mario did. And what was amazing was, here's Mario in his 50s, hiking his leg over a MotoGP bike in not leathers, but in his, at the time, Kmart Texaco Haviland, Alexander Julian designed Nomex. And they put knee pucks on him.
Sure.
So he had the knee pucks on and a helmet that was made on a motorcycle to create lift, not necessarily plant it onto your head, right? And a motorcycle for a car is quite a bit different than what they wear on a bike. And he went out there and, believe it or not, he put down a time in 8 laps that would have placed him on the grid for the MotoGP race at that time.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
So you're talking about and you can't do that unless you have a passion for something. You understand? And the only way you could go out there and hike your leg over something that has that much power, and those were light switches, as we all know. I mean, those things were unforgiving. And I'll never forget. It's a highlight of my life because I was a young teenager, and when I saw the video, Mario put it in for us at Christmas because it happened in November. So we're there at the house for Christmas, and he puts the video in because he wants to show off to my dad, his twin brother. This is a common passion they grew up having together as two young Italian boys. And, so we're watching this, and Mario's first couple laps, don't judge me. The tires are cold, and
I can hear him saying
things, and we're like, nobody's judge. I mean, this is amazing what you're doing out there. There's nothing to judge because it's just it was astonishing to see him just get a hold of that thing and really grit it by the teeth and get those 8 laps in. And Laguna, you talk to any MotoGP rider, and Laguna is, I mean, it's the most wicked place to go around, and that's why the Americans are so strong there, because they've turned laps there in a motorbike. And if you've never done that in a high-powered motorbike, and your first introduction is coming there, Yeah. It's a rude awakening. I think any one of those guys will tell you that.
Well,
Oh, that's really neat.
I want to get your take on some MotoGP, but guys, we got to squeeze in a break real fast. So let's go ahead and do that. You're listening to Speed City live in Austin, Texas. Back.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and this is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back to the show, and thank you, Mario Andretti, for bringing us back. We have Adam Andretti as our guest. I see his eyes light up on that. And when we went to break, I said we were going to talk about MotoGP. Jonathan, why don't you try to give us a little catch-up for the season, because we've already had 2 races in MotoGP, in Moto2 and Moto3, and then I want you to get Adam's take on all that.
Yeah, well, it's a really interesting season. As you know, or don't know, Marc Marquez has been struggling ever since his crash at Jerez at the beginning of last season. And he was out. He tried to come back the following week and struggled, and he's been struggling ever since. His brother Alex is now in MotoGP, and they were going to be the force to be reckoned with. But he, too, is struggling. So that has opened up MotoGP like nowhere, like never before. I mean, MotoGP has been dominated by 1 or 2 riders over the last couple of decades. And it's often that way. You know, it's the combination of the best bike and the best rider, and no one can touch them. Whereas now you've got several really good manufacturers, Ducati, Suzuki, Yamaha, who've dominated over the years. Rossi's now on a satellite Yamaha, but not a bike that he's been on before. He's struggling as well. And so the whole field has opened up. So all these youngsters have come in. Quartararo, Vinales is now hitting the top. And Juan Mir, of course, also right at the top and world champion. So they, while the best is away, the rest will play. And they are playing as hard as they dare. Jack Miller in the hunt as well. And so it's probably going to be the most open season of MotoGP, I think, in many years. And, of course, we hope to have both Marquez's up to full speed. But it really has opened the door for some new winners, some new names to come to the fore. And it's really good. And also for America, more importantly, we've got 2 of our own. Joe Roberts, no relation, but Joe Roberts from California, and the 5-time American Superbike champion, Cameron Beaubier, has gone over to Moto2. So we've really got some skin in the game now. And you heard Adam talking about, Kenny Roberts. His son was also a world champion. But since Nicky Hayden and Colin Edwards, we really haven't had anybody in MotoGP. And so we're looking at these 2 as being the next. And in the first race at Qatar last week, they were the first 2 Americans to both finish in the points since Colin Edwards and Nicky Hayden, and I want to say 2008, something like that.
Wow, that's a big deal, man.
It's a big, big deal. And Adam, I know you follow it. What's your take on what we've seen in the opening 2 rounds? Would you agree with what I've just summed up?
Yeah, absolutely. From the excitement down to the tribulations, for sure. It's we all hate to see the doctor struggle. And it's the whole SRT, the whole Petronas group is over there struggling. I think we were all expecting Franco Morbidelli to be coming out and the way he finished off 2020, we were like, I mean, I know me personally as a fan was like, I was really looking forward to what, because they were the only ones not reinventing their package, right? He was going to be on the same package he'd always been on. But the only thing that's changed again, I believe, in the offseason has been a little bit of the construction of this tire. So, we all saw what that did to Doby last year. You know, Doby looked like after 2019, he was going to be unstoppable into 2020 and give something to really work for. And then the next thing you know, we have a rear tire, construction change, and he just couldn't get a hold of it.
Yeah.
He kept on saying that in his press conferences. Listen, the only thing that's changed is the rear tire. I don't know what to tell you, but we can't get a hold of this rear tire for some reason. So maybe it's a little bit of that. But yeah, from that 30,000-foot view, that's what I see. And then, I mean, just the Jorge Martin. I mean, my goodness, what he displayed today, this weekend period, from blasting into a pole position. And then, right in the race, the way even he pointed out his own maturity at the end of the race. It was one of those things where he didn't go over race Zarco. He recognized Zarco's position in the team, that Zarco is the leader in the team right now. Had the potential to be the points leader, at leaving this event tonight, and he is the points leader. So that showed great maturity, and I really look forward to watching him blossom as a rider, because I think we've all enjoyed watching his performances through Moto3 into Moto2.
Yeah.
And then, to the Moto2 thing, it was bittersweet, right? For the Americans. It was sweet the first weekend, and it was bitter this weekend. They both crashed within almost of a lap of each other. Joe, I felt so gutted for the kid. He was in his interview. He just, he took all the blame. He took it all on his shoulders. The wind caught him out off guard, but he wasn't using that as an excuse. He took it all on his shoulders, and I don't want that to bug his confidence, right? He's such a strong rider. He doesn't need to let that hurt his confidence. I think they're going to get into Europe, where he really, again, performs extremely, extremely well. And that's going to be good news there. But Raul Fernandez in the Moto2 bikes, wow!
Yeah.
I mean, what awesome performances from him. And then Sam Lowe's, I don't know how you beat him unless he's sleeping at night with a stick. I don't know how else to beat that.
Good one.
Mean, he is on a roll, and they're gelling as a team, and he's unfazed by. He's one of the few guys that lay a bike down in a morning warm up and hop on that, hike the leg over the bike, and then just go out there in the start of the race and like nothing happened. And that shows an incredible amount of confidence that he has in his own abilities and what that team is putting underneath him right now. And the only people that can crack that are internal. So it's going to take a lot to break Lowe's up front there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam Lowe's is going to finally get his day. He's been there or thereabouts for the last few years. He won his first race in Moto2 here at Coda a few years ago. And I remember he'd sort of been, sort of tempting it all year. And finally he did it at Coda. And since then he's not looked back. But I think this is the year. And to me, growing up in England, he reminds me of the closest thing to Barry Sheene that we've ever had, in that he walks the walks, talks the talk. And he gets up when he falls and dusts himself off and keeps going. And I think he's going to be a hard guy to beat this year.
I couldn't agree more. He's got a jaw on him like a Rock'em Sock'em robot too. Like
Correct.
The guy,
He
just
could be a boxer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's like my brother John says, he's like a ball of steel. You can't break a ball of steel, and that's what you have when you see a man like Sam Lowe. So it's definitely a phenomenal thing to see. Like you said, I've been a fan of his for a long time, and I know that there was a lot of people that when he landed that Mark BDS ride, there was a lot of fanfare that was really harsh on that choice of Mark BDS, and I love that he's able to kind of show what he's doing on that thing, and I think this stays healthy, stays upright. This could definitely be his year.
I got to tell you, I love hearing this appetite for motorcycles, Adam. This week, so I've been, we've all watched everything that was current, and so I've been going backwards. This week, I watched a documentary on MotoGP rivalries called Faster.
Yes.
You need to check that out if you haven't.
I have.
Very good.
Yeah, and we've just mentioned practically every name there except Kevin Schwantz. Sorry, neighbor. But
Yeah, sorry, neighbor.
There's another one to watch too called The Unridables, about that 500cc era
Correct.
that I talked about. And if you haven't checked out The Unridables, that is probably my favorite motorcycle documentary next to Road, which would be about the Dunlop family,
Yeah.
which is another wonderful, just absolute in-depth look at that family and what they've gone through chasing their passion at the Isle of Man. So yeah, I definitely have the passion for the two wheels. It runs deep in these veins.
oh, that's fantastic. So, have you ever considered racing bikes yourself?
Aha.
Yeah, now we're here, Jonathan. Yes, oh, absolutely. That was honestly that's what I wanted to do as a young boy. I was begging my dad to go-kart racing, and he'd done that with my brothers, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work as anyone who's done it knows. And so I was trying to get him excited. So I said, we loved motorcycle racing. We would get up at that time. We'd get up at all hours in the morning and watch it, find it live and watch it live, and we enjoyed it. And that was the Kevin Schwantz era, so
Yeah.
we were involved with that a lot, and excited to have an American that was doing so well. And so I said, Dad, what about motorcycle racing? And he goes, I don't know what to do there. Show me. And so then I used my contact. I asked my Uncle Mario and to hook up with Kenny Roberts, and Kenny was so cool because he laid it out. Like, he said, this is what you need to do, and kind of even put down costs, what the costs were and everything, rough costs, and it was like half of what it would take to go run karts and cars, and
Sure.
and so my dad was like excited about the cost. And but I'm blessed to have a mother that loves me enough that felt like two wheels was going to be good for my future and my health, and that kind of what was squashing that. But we went racing, and that was what was important. And but I do love the two wheels, and I would have loved to hike my leg over a bike. But I tell you, as I look at these guys and what they do, and is it honestly something I would even be able to do? Like, it is such a special skill set that I've recognized in my older age that a cocky teenager wouldn't recognize, and that I've certainly recognized as I've advanced in my years, that it's a super, super special talent and commitment that it takes to do that.
Well, Adam, I remember a story of these two brothers that snuck off to a speedway in Pennsylvania, I think, and were racing without their parents knowing. But I don't know. Maybe you'll know.
And what's funny is, if you know the whole story, it didn't really work out well for them in the immediate future. There was some punishments that came down that I wasn't willing to face, and I've got a huge amount of love and respect for my parents. So I wasn't, and not that my dad and my uncle didn't. It was I love that. I love that part about their story, that their passion ran so deep. Obviously, if my passion would have been as deep enough for motorcycles, I probably would have done that. You probably nailed it right there, Les. Maybe it wasn't as deep as I like to brag that I think it was. Because if it was, maybe I would have snuck off and done something like that, because my dad and my uncle certainly did.
Hey, Uncle Kenny.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
yeah.
You're right. Those guys are different.
And when
Racing cars is one thing, but bikes. Whew.
And when you get Mario to call, I bet that phone call gets taken, doesn't it? I think Mario doesn't have any problem getting any phone calls returned. So, all right, guys, hey, we got to take another break. So let's get that out of the way now. And we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Adam Andretti. Listen to Speed City. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Bob Varsha, commentator for Sports Cars, Barrett-Jackson, Collector Car Auctions, and more. You're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Thank you, Mr. Varsha, for bringing us back. And if you don't know our Formula One coverage, we do the pre- and post-race shows on national radio for every Formula One race in between the play-by-play. And Bob Varsha has joined us this year. So if you want to hear the dulcet tones of Bob Varsha, go to our website, speedcitybroadcast.com, and find out where to listen to our Formula One coverage every Formula One weekend. And we have our special guest, Adam Andretti, with us. And we're talking MotoGP, motorcycles, Moto America. And Jonathan, why don't we jump right into this interview that you did out at Circuit of the Americas with the guy who put down the fastest test times out there this weekend?
Yep, as you know, I did World Superbike commentary for some 15 years for my penance, which I loved every minute of. I now have a Labrador, and I've been called the Labrador because all I ever do is chase bikes and cars around. But for many years, I chased bikes, and Loris Baz was a youngster coming up when I started, and of course has gone to the dizzy heights of both MotoGP and World Superbikes. He got lost in the tussle with Ten Carter. He was going to be a factory Yamaha rider. He's just 28 years old, and he's a very, very good rider. He's about as tall as Ben Spies, if not taller. And he's now come to America after those deals kind of fell through a little bit. But I think he's landed on his feet because he's going to ride for Ducati in Moto America, and he's probably the biggest star of World Superbike fame outside of Tony Elias, who did both MotoGP as a world champion, and of course, sorry, Moto2 as a world champion, and MotoGP, but then went to World Superbikes later in his career. So to get Loris Baz into America is a really big coup for Wayne Rainey. And we haven't had a lot of change. Beaubier has been champion for the last few years, but finally Beaubier's gone over to Europe to do Moto2. So I think it's going to be an interesting season. And straight out of the box, Loris Baz was fastest at COTA this week. They were here at COTA, here in Austin for the last few days. And because Ducati Austin, our big sponsors, were down there, I trundled on over after having my COVID shot. Yay! And thank you, Mr. Epstein. And oh no! Oh, mayhem! And I sallied forth and had a word with said Loris Baz, the young Frenchman on his way up. Here I am. I'm coming to COTA for a first time to get my COVID shot, and mon ami is in front of me. Loris Baz.
Long time no see.
Long time no see. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? What are you doing in America? And I can see that you're with Ducati New York. Welcome to the United States. What do you think?
So good. Enjoying it so far. Great adventure starting. I had a call from Bobby, from Veracci, and it was a tough period for me end of last year with 10K pulling out from Superbike, and I just didn't want to ride like a shit bike. I just wanted a good project anywhere, and that was a good project. Ducati is behind us. I really enjoyed the idea to come here and try to win the championship and go back in World Superbike with a good bike. I'm looking forward to it. I came 3 weeks ago. We had the team launch, we had a couple of things to do, and then finally testing the bike here for the first time this week, and I really enjoyed it. Thursday was even too good, everything was so easy. We didn't have to change anything on the bike. We were super fast, nearly break the lap record on day one, and it was just amazing. And then I have to adapt to the Dunlop, try to understand the tire. So day two only focus on the longer steam, trying to understand how the tire drop. It was pretty windy too, and the bike is really reactive to the wind, big fairing, big wings. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty hard at the beginning, but at the end of the day we were really fast, really strong pace. So really happy, looking forward. We have a big months ahead before the first race, trying to learn a couple of tracks with the standard V4S. And hopefully we can make one more test with a Superbike bike. And then, it will be race time in Atlanta. For sure, we'll go there, and I will have to learn the track during the first race. But I'm really looking forward. It's a great challenge, and I have some great guys in the team with Yeah, Bobby from HSBK, Ducati New York, Ducati behind us, and just to have Ferracci in the box is something amazing. This guy is just a legend in Europe, and to have him in the box and the way he's still aware of everything and trying. He went on track every session to watch me and give me inputs like this. You don't feel he's 85 when you see that guy talking to you. So just for that, I want to do everything to bring back the title to Ducati and to Ferracci. The last one was 94, so it's time for Ducati to win again here.
Why Moto America? Because obviously it's a big shot in the arm for Moto America to have a star from World Superbikes come to America. I mean, obviously we had Tony Elias as well, and we've had some great names here, and now some of them are going to World Superbikes or MotoGP or Moto2, like of course Bobier and Joe Roberts. But why here?
Well, as I tell you, the plan was to stay in World Superbike. I was 99% signed with Factory Yamaha in July, and then just racing world that things happened and just that it couldn't happen, and 10K was missing sponsor, didn't want to spend money anymore, and that's it. So as I told you, I didn't want to ride for ride. I wanted a great project, and I wanted to be able to fight in front. And the only two national championship where I think you have the opportunity then to jump back in the world stage is the BSB or the Moto America. Anywhere else is just an end of career. You could go there to take money. It was not my plan. I'm not in end of career. I'm only 28, and I really want to use the opportunity to jump back to World Superbike. We didn't even look for something, but just Bobby and Ducati in America were looking for a rider to ride this bike and to try to win the championship. And they called me, and when they called me, I was not so sure about that. I went to sleep, and the day after I woke up and I said, okay, I have to do it. I was sure that it was a great project. We just made sure that we had the great bike, because it's how it works. You need to have the great guys, have mechanics coming with me from Europe. It's a great project, and then I woke up like this. Okay, I have to do it. It's a struggle, especially this year with the COVID and everything. It's not so easy to say, okay, I go in US to race, So, it's nice. It's nice. Really, really enjoy it so far.
Now, you've obviously ridden against Ducati at World Superbike level for many years. How does this bike compare from your own ability to ride on it and from what you've seen with Chaz and others riding?
Well, the bike is just real racing bike, pretty reactive, sensitive to the setup, strong engine, which is good for a tall boy like me. It's a bike that like the tall boys because Scott is really tall, Chaz is pretty tall, and those guys always been fast on this bike. So it's already something, and we gain a lot of time to have some tall rider in this bike because we already have the sizing on the bike for them. So I just asked the team to put everything from Scott on the bike, and I just had to change a couple of things. The only thing is it's Pirelli in world stage, and we have Dunlop here, and we have to learn. We have to set up the bike to ride with the Dunlop, but that's the only thing. But I don't think it's a big thing to worry about. It's just need a bit of time, but I'm pretty confident for this season.
Well, listen, for those fans in the States that may not have seen you as much, what number you're riding, do you know yet? And what's your social so people can follow you?
Well, 76, like always, and just Loris Baz in all the social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and YouTube. I'm trying to make some more things in YouTube this year together with the team, trying to share the US adventure with all the fans I have all around the world, especially in Europe, but also here now. So it's going to be fun.
Best of luck. Bonne chance, mon ami.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Awesome, Jonathan. I'm jealous that you were out there at Circuit of the Americas. But hey, Adam, I want to ask you about. You seem to have an in-depth knowledge of virtually every motorsport. It's weird. I don't understand how that can be with an Andretti last name. But what do you think about he was saying about tall riders and motorcycles? It's something you just don't see very often.
No, it's not. Valentino Rossi's not exactly a short guy, and he's been mildly successful over the years. So
mildly.
Only mildly, but absolutely, because a bike, it's one of those rare forms of motorsports too that they don't, in technical inspection, they don't weigh you with the bike. They don't care what you weigh. Honestly, the engineers do, if you can be the light as possible. And that's why those guys, I mean, they're on another physical level of any other athlete on the planet. I'm far convinced of that. And, so when you're road racing a motorcycle, you see his height is definitely a detriment. I mean, I think we both have watched MotoGP in the last 2 weekends. The Jorge Martin, his starts are amazing. And if you stood next to the guy, you don't have to be very tall to tower over him. He's a small little stature of a man. And I remember Danny Pedrosa, another one that would rocket off the starts, another really small. So definitely that stature is there. But I do know that, like, for example, Supercross, in that sport, height is not a detriment. Size is not a detriment in that sport, because having big, strong legs is what's going to get you through the whip sections of those things, and and being able to handle the endurance that it takes to ride those bikes. So, to translate that into, I honestly think that, if you're a good enough rider, I don't think it really matters. I think it same thing in race cars. You always heard about it all the time. We need the smaller person in race cars, smaller. And then you got, cats like, Max Verstappen is not exactly a small person, and he goes like the Dickens. And, Paul Tracy was never a small person, and he's tough to beat. So, there's definitely, if the talent is there, I don't really put too much onto the size. And so I think other people get hung up on size, and I say this as a 6 foot tall Andretti. If you know anything about my family, that's about as rare as they come. And I was the tallest until my nephew Matthew, really outgrew me. So and that was definitely a title I was happy to relinquish, because size is usually not your friend in any form of motorsport. But I think if you got your program down and you're skillful enough, you can overcome about anything. And this is one of those sports that you can, especially motorcycle racing, because the athlete can make that difference. We see it on that Honda. You alluded to that, Jonathan, earlier. With Mark Marquez being out, it's really opened up this field. My dear friend Shane Donnelly and I, we were just talking the other day. We huge Mark Marquez fans, love watching him, love watching his style, but his absence has certainly made MotoGP this really, as you so eloquently put earlier, Jonathan, this open book of you don't know who's going to win week to week. You don't know how it's going to be. I mean, we had the top 15 today separated by less than 9 seconds. And that used to be what Mark Marquez had on second place. Was 9 seconds.
True.
So it's definitely an exciting time to watch this motorcycle racing. So.
I got to comment on that about Loris Baz, because, like I said, I watched him come through the ranks as a kid, and I talked to him about his height a lot. My co-commentator, Steve Martin, as we all know on the show, we talked a lot about it, and he said he worked a great deal on his aerodynamics of going low on long straights, and keeping his back aerodynamically. And he talked to Colin Edwards and a few other tall guys about that. But the advantage that a tall guy has is actually in the corners and in the balance of the bike, because they have got long legs, and when they lean out, they almost have a tripod effect of kind of, a little bit more balance. Colin said it could be a huge advantage sometimes. So don't ever count out a tall guy on a motorcycle. It has its advantages if you can tuck in.
I agree. That leverage is king, when you can have some leverage there, and absolutely, if you got a long leg with some strength, that leverage. I honestly think some of the crashes Danny Pedrosa had were because his size. He couldn't bring the bike back to himself. He was such a small guy that when that bike went to buck, that was a bull. That was a bull that just bucked him off, and he didn't hang on. We saw Jack Miller, who's not a small guy, hang onto the bike twice this weekend in some really, really wretched, vicious looking high side, and one that I think caught his rib a little bit. You saw him rubbing on his rib cage a little bit. Like the fuel tank tagged him in the ribs. But yeah, the small cats, and Alex Marquez, Mark's brother, is not a short guy either. He's a long, lanky one as well. So I think you're seeing, and I think it's just kind of what we're seeing with athletes, period. You're seeing more and more size on people, and period, and just it's part of we were evolving, if you will, possibly. And but yeah, don't let that overcome. Like you said, Jonathan, it could be that advantage.
All right, guys. Well, I want to shift gears. And Les, I want you to introduce this interview you did. Really fascinating story to help young people in motorsports and automotive careers.
Yeah, it's something that Driven to Care is an organization that I was mildly aware of. And the more I learned, the more I loved it. And I got this opportunity to support it. It's really about kind of going a little deeper into the people with the wrenches, the people with the engineering, things of that nature. And so really, it's a great opportunity. I hope you enjoy the interview, and I hope you'll support it. Alrighty, folks, we have been following the up-and-coming young racers on Speed City quite a bit, but there's another group of young up-and-coming talent that we really want to promote and encourage. And the place that we're encouraging them to get involved in this is Driven to Care. Driven to Care is helping to promote and develop the youth that are interested in craftsmanship and the trade of the automotive industry, quite honestly. So we've got the founder of Driven to Care, Lisa Weinberger. Lisa, welcome back to Speed City.
Thank you so much for having me and for giving us that opportunity that we want to have to impact students.
If you're not familiar with Lisa Weinberger and her husband, the legendary, quite honestly, the legendary John Weinberger, who passed this past year, these folks have done amazing work. You've seen them at the Circuit of the Americas running vintage cars. You've seen them at quite a few racetracks around the United States racing vintage cars. Tell us about your Celica. What's the history of that?
My 72 Toyota Celica was built by Janet Guthrie, who's the first woman Indy 500 and the first woman Daytona 500 driver. And she built this car. She has her PhD in physics, and she actually built this car, and it was the first Toyota ever to hit a track.
There you go. Janet Guthrie, lady, racer, builder, all of that. We're going to come back to that topic here in a little bit. But give us a little bit of a history of John specifically. How did he wind up being this legend in the automotive industry of the classic racing and the dealer owners?
Well, first of all, he started out by not finishing high school, which is not something I would suggest. But the reason I bring it up is because success is really built on passion. It's not necessarily built on credentials. And if you have a passion, you'll acquire the credentials, you'll acquire the skills. So he started out as a technician, and he worked at an old Ford dealership and Nash Healey, and he wanted to become the service manager, but the owner of the dealership didn't give him the job, gave it to his son's college-educated friend. And so John left crying that day and stumbled into a golf station that said for rent. And he didn't have any money, but he called the guy and he said, I don't have any money, but I'd really like to rent the gas station. And the owner said, no problem, you can pay with the proceeds of the gas. And that's how he started in business. And that was in Lyons, Illinois.
Already home of the Lyons Drag Raceway. So that was awesome. What a shrewd businessman to take the revenue split and make that work. But, John continued to work, became quite successful. The Continental Group in Illinois is the result of all of his hard effort. Tell us a little bit about, at its peak, we had it with, I think there were 6 brands around Continental.
Actually, we had 8 brands by the time of his passing, which were Acura, Mazda, Audi, Nissan, Honda, Toyota, Mitsubishi, and Ferrari. We had just sold Maserati, but he's had many brands in the past. He started with British Leyland cars like Jaguar, Triumph, MGs, and Nash Healeys. That's how he started in the business. And because he was such a good wrench, and he started racing vintage cars as well, Toyota came to him and asked him if he would be an authorized dealer. And he was all excited that he was going to get a sign that said authorized dealer. And that's what put him in business. And back then there was the oil embargo. And so people who were anti-Japanese sentiment back then, well, he became famous by Friday because the cars were so fuel efficient and still are to this day. And so that's how he started as a car dealer.
So folks, you can see this high school dropout, for lack of better terms, with his passion made this happen. Well, that's not the easy way to do it, and not many are successful at that. And so, I want to talk about Driven to Care, the charity program that you and John instigated. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Driven to Care, the name came from our Continental Motors group. 10 years ago, we decided to give away refurbished used cars to people in need, individuals and families in need. And they were vetted through a charity, and people that overcame substance abuse, homelessness, drug abuse, many different kinds of challenges. So I want to continue to use the Driven to Care brand to parlay that into scholarshiping our students. So we've always scholarshiped a student from a local high school near our dealership so that we can mentor them and expose them to what it's like to be a porter or in sales or in service or in finance and insurance in a dealership. But further than that, I decided that we were going to scholarship upon his death 10 students a year. And so the Driven to Care program currently, on top of giving cars away at our dealership, which is in Illinois for Illinois residents, is to scholarship kids in technical training, in vintage automotive restoration, in engineering, automotive engineering, and in the business of dealerships. So the schools that we have will give them the choice and the options and expose them to all of those various options. The technical training can be done at any community college that has an automotive program or a university like Universal Technical Institute, which is a phenomenal campus setting. The vintage automotive restoration is at McPherson College, and they are the only four-year college in the United States that offers a bachelor's in liberal arts, but has a full program for vintage automotive restoration, from learning about engines, small blocks, body, paint, upholstery, and the business skills of keeping the records. Then we have a relationship through the Society of Automotive Engineers up in Chicago, and we hope to branch that into Texas as well. And those are students that want to go into mechanical or electrical engineering, but have a penchant towards the automotive industry. And then one more is Northwood University, which teaches business skills for car dealerships, sales, service, finance and insurance, and parts, and automotive communications and marketing.
So I know that you're talking about this year offering quite a few scholarships from technicians as well as females. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we want to inspire females to be in this industry. And so one scholarship out of the technical ones is specifically and only for a female. And the other ones are open to male or female. So we hope to inspire women, and we hope to, the one criteria that we have for all of our scholarships is students that have financial need.
So tell us, who are the candidates that are likely to apply and have historically?
Ones that come out of automotive programs from high schools that have an automotive program. That is almost exclusively how we have done that, and having the financial need. Because kids who don't have the financial need will get where they want to go anyhow. But we want to recruit students out of automotive programs like at Crockett High School in Austin, Texas, like Lyons Township High School in Lyons, Illinois, and various other schools. And we are having all of the scholarships administered by an organization called TechForce. You can look it up, techforce.org. So in addition to Driven to Care scholarships, which is in my husband's memory, TechForce offers $1.2 million of additional funds for techs.
Wow, there you go. Well, it was by no accident that Crockett High School was mentioned there. This evening we've got Greg Wilson, automotive technology teacher from Crockett High School. Greg, what do you think of this program?
Thank you, Les. It's an honor to be here. It sounds like it's a really great program because in Crockett High School, there's a lot of need for that. There's a lot of kids that do need, help getting into a technical school. So I think this is going to go a long way to help them get to where they want to go.
So I wanted to ask you, over the years, I know you've been around the automotive industry quite a bit. The kids that go into it, has it increased? Has it decreased? I think of computers more so than I do people picking up wrenches and actually turning something like that.
Well, we're actually building up our program. There are more and more kids wanting to get into it. We do have limited space just because of the limited space that we have, but We try to get as many in as we can and get them through the 4-year curriculum that we do have at Crockett High School.
Oh, that's phenomenal. 4 years in a high school of this area going into automotive technology. So, Greg, you think this is going to be something that's really going to be appetizing to your students?
I really do think so. The ones that are interested in it will really want to get involved in it, and this would be a life changer for them. And I think that they would realize that once they start seeing how this program is going.
Les, this is a really cool program. This is fantastic. You got this done. And but guys, we are just about out of time. And we want to thank Adam Andretti for coming on. Adam, you were fantastic, by the way. I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed my time here. I really appreciate all of you.
Hey, Adam, if we can get you back on, I've got Joe Roberts coming on after Portugal, so we'll get a chat with a new up and coming star.
I'm going to start writing questions now.
Okay, good.
For that, I cannot.
And if you haven't, by the way, tell them about the documentary, John. There's a doco on Roberts.
Oh yeah, Joe Roberts. You can find it on YouTube. You can get it on the MotoGP app as well, but it's all over YouTube. Just go to YouTube and Joe Roberts documentary, and it'll pop right up. But guys, we are out of time. One last thing, Adam. What was the foundation again for colon cancer?
Check it for Andretti. Yes, you can get Check it for Andretti. 107 Keats Road, Mooresville, North Carolina. Send any proceeds there, and then they'll take care of it from there. Thank you guys so much.
Yep, check it for Andretti. All right, thanks everybody, and of course we'll talk to you next week.
Happy trails.